Ladies and gentlemen, what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary is not strength, not speed, and not size. It's mentality. The lion is not the biggest animal in the jungle. The eagle is not the largest bird in the sky. But when they show up, everything changes. Let me ask you something. What atmosphere do you bring when you walk into a room? Do you command the air or blend with the dust? This message is not about animals. It's about you. Because until you understand the spirit of the lion and the vision of the eagle, you will live beneath your capacity and make peace with mediocrity. And I declare to you tonight, God did not design you to survive. He designed you to soar and to reign. In the kingdom of the wild, the lion does not ask for permission, and the eagle does not fear the storm. Each was born with an instinct that refuses to settle for the ground, not because they were told who they were, but because they knew it. But the tragedy today is that many people are living like caged eagles and tame lions, domesticated by fear, trained by trauma, silenced by systems. A cage is not made of iron, it's made of ideas. And the greatest prison is a mind convinced that it is powerless. So today, I bring you 6 prophetic lessons. Not from scholars, not from philosophers, but from the lion of the land and the eagle of the air. Because even creation is preaching. Are you listening? When the lion walks into the jungle, it doesn't announce itself with a roar first. It doesn't check the size of the elephant or ask how many hyenas are nearby. It walks and everything watches. Not because of what it does, but because of who it knows it is. The lion is not the largest. It is not the fastest. It is not the most intelligent. But here's what gives the lion dominion. Its belief is louder than its body. You see, the lion does not operate on facts. It operates from identity. And that's where many people fail. Because life will give you 1,000 facts about why you can't succeed. It will remind you of your background, your failures, your mistakes, and your limitations. But let me tell you something tonight. Identity is more powerful than facts. And the tragedy of our time is not people who are weak. It is people who are strong, but don't know they are. Identity does not begin with affirmation, it begins with revelation. Until you see yourself differently, you will never act differently. Until your mindset shifts, your actions will stay stuck in neutral. Let me ask you a question. What lies have you made peace with about yourself? Because what you tolerate internally, you will manifest externally. The lion doesn't look into the mirror and see a cat. It doesn't question its voice when it roars. And it doesn't seek applause to feel powerful. But humans, oh, how we've traded our roar for approval. How many people are walking around today needing validation to feel valuable? Waiting for someone to tell them they're enough before they move forward. But when God created you, He didn't ask for a second opinion. He stamped you with divine essence, not public consensus. I've seen a caged lion in a zoo, still majestic, but subdued, still powerful, but predictable, still a lion, but robbed of its wildness. Do you know what breaks my heart? There are men and women today who are exactly that. Gifted but confined, chosen but cautious, anointed but afraid. They've been domesticated by voices that said, stay safe, don't try too much, be realistic. But listen to me, realistic is the enemy of destiny. God never called you to be safe, He called you to be dangerous. to the systems of darkness, to the walls of fear, to the lies that try to define you. Let me give you something practical. If you walk into a room and you change your tone, your energy, and your values just to fit in, you've lost your roar. When you shrink to survive, you betray your own calling. And the problem with shrinking is that eventually you forget how to stretch. You forget what you were born for because you keep adapting to what you were never meant to be comfortable in. You were not born to agree with your environment. You were born to transform it. The lion doesn't ask the jungle to make room. It walks, and room is made. The problem is not your environment. It's your belief about your role in it. You can educate a man, train him, dress him, even anoint him. But if his self-permission is still crawling while his calling is meant to fly, he will self-sabotage every opportunity God places in his hands. What you believe about yourself determines what you expect from life, and what you expect determines what you pursue. You will never chase what you don't think belongs to you. The lion chases because it believes the prey is already its possession. And so I ask you, what are you leaving on the table because you don't believe you deserve to sit? You've mistaken humility for hiding. You've confused silence with peace. You've called your shrinking meekness when it's actually fear. But hear this clearly. God is not glorified by your smallness. He is glorified when you walk boldly in the fullness of who He made you to be. So I dare you today, walk in the room like you belong. Speak like you carry something eternal. Act like your life matters to history, because it does. And when you rise with that belief, not arrogance, but unshakable clarity, the world around you will adjust. Because true identity always alters the atmosphere. You will never find an eagle flying in a flock. You will never see it circling the city with pigeons or darting through fields with sparrows. Why? Because the eagle understands what many humans still haven't learned. Your altitude is determined by your associations. We live in a time where people crave connection more than they crave clarity. They want to belong more than they want to become. And in the process, they lower their standards to remain included. But hear me, elevation requires separation. If you are unwilling to leave the familiar, you are not ready to access the extraordinary. The eagle doesn't apologize for flying alone. It doesn't seek comfort in company. It finds clarity in solitude. And some of you are drained, not because you're doing too much, but because you're surrounded by too many. People who don't see what you see, people who speak against what you carry, people who want you close, but only as long as you stay small. And the tragedy is, you've been clipping your own wings just to keep their approval. Let me tell you something that might disturb your comfort. Not everyone assigned to your past is meant for your future. Some relationships were only scaffolding, temporary structures to help you build. But the building is complete. And if you keep clinging to what was seasonal, you will delay what is eternal. The eagle ascends above storms, not because it hates others, but because it's wired for the heights. And some of you were designed with that same wiring. But because the air is thin up there and company is rare, you've been tempted to descend. You've tried to explain yourself to people who lack the language to understand you. You've begged to be seen, when in truth, you were called to stand apart. You were not created to blend in with the crowd. You were called to rise above it. And that rise is costly. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you consensus. It will cost you the illusion that everyone can come with you. They can't. There's a moment in every visionary's life when you realize the people you started with are not strong enough for where you're going. And that's not betrayal, that's maturity. The eagle does not wait for the approval of the flock. It rises and lets the wind confirm the direction. You don't grow in echo chambers, you grow in silence. You grow in wildernesses. You grow when no one claps, when no one texts back, when no one understands. That's where God trains eagles, in caves, not conferences. And if you're in that season now, if you feel like no one gets it, like the crowd you once leaned on no longer fits, don't panic. You're not lost. You're being lifted. In the sky, the eagle meets no crowd, but it meets clarity. It sees further because it left lower things behind. And when you finally stop seeking permission to rise, you will find vision you never thought possible. The sky does not apologize for being wide. The eagle does not apologize for being alone. And you must not apologize for leaving behind what refuses to grow. You don't need more company. You need more courage. So rise. The lion is not respected because it's aggressive. It is respected because it confronts what others avoid. When a lion hears the roar of another predator, it does not retreat. It does not tremble. It does not run. It rises. And that right there is the lesson. Greatness is not proven in comfort. It is revealed in conflict. Many people today are waiting for life to get easier before they step forward. They're praying for the fear to disappear, hoping the enemy will grow silent, wishing the pressure would lighten. But let me wake you up to something eternal. You will never access destiny if you keep waiting for safety. God does not anoint the passive. He empowers the bold. The lion teaches us this truth. Confrontation is part of dominion. When David ran toward Goliath, he wasn't being reckless. He was being prophetic. Because in every generation, God raises someone who refuses to negotiate with fear. And I wonder, could that someone be you? But let's be honest. Fear is not always loud. Sometimes it's subtle. Sometimes it dresses itself up as wisdom. Wait a little longer. It's not the right time. Don't be too extreme. But what you call patience might be camouflage paralysis. What you call balance might be spiritual cowardice, wearing a suit. And the danger is, if you don't face what scares you, you'll train your soul to shrink every time destiny calls. The lion doesn't win because it's fearless. It wins because it moves anyway. I've seen too many people with vision in their heart, but change on their voice. People who could change lives, shift cultures, build nations, but they're stuck, negotiating with inner phantoms that say, "Who do you think you are?" And you know what's worse than failure? Regret. Not the kind that comes from mistakes, but the kind that comes from silence, from knowing you had the roar, but you swallowed it. The lion doesn't wait to feel powerful. It moves, and in moving, it becomes power. You've been told to wait on clarity, but clarity doesn't always come before movement. Sometimes movement creates clarity. Sometimes the first step is your statement of war. There's a story of a woman, single mother, 3 children, no formal education, living in a small village in Nigeria. The odds were stacked against her, and fear visited her often. But one morning she stood in front of her children and said, "We will not die poor. I don't know how yet, but we will build something." She started selling oranges on the side of the road. Then she taught herself how to bake. Years later, she owns 3 bakeries and employs over 40 people in her town. What changed? Her income? No. Her circumstances? No. Her decision. She heard the roar of her situation and she roared back. You don't need to have all the answers, but you need to stop bowing to every noise that intimidates you, because fear grows when you feed it, and fear dies when you face it. So let me ask you, what roar have you been running from? What have you allowed to sound louder than your assignment? You were never designed to cower. You were born to confront. And until you stop negotiating with fear, you will keep forfeiting territory that belongs to you. The lion doesn't seek battles, but he doesn't skip them either. And you, my friend, are not here to be safe. You are here to conquer. When the eagle senses a storm coming, it does not flee. It doesn't retreat into a nest, hide behind the mountain, or complain to the wind. Instead, it does something counterintuitive. It flies into it, not to survive it, but to ride it. Because the eagle knows something most people forget. The storm that terrifies others is the very wind that lifts it higher. You see, most people have been taught to avoid pain, to run from pressure, to sidestep resistance. We've been conditioned to believe that struggle is a sign of failure. But listen to me carefully. Resistance is not rejection. It is refinement. Diamonds are made under pressure. Gold is purified through fire. And eagles rise by mastering the winds that try to break them. Do you know why some people never rise? It's not because they aren't called. It's because every time life sent a storm, they panicked. They prayed it away instead of flying through it. They wanted calm more than character. But growth doesn't come through calm. Growth comes when you face the winds and choose to fly anyway. There's a lesson in the storm you're running from. The strength in that hardship, strategy in that betrayal, clarity in that disappointment. The storm is not your enemy, it's your elevation. But only if you change how you see it. God does not send storms to destroy you. He allows them to distinguish you. Some storms are not meant to sink your ship. They're meant to reveal that you were born to walk on water. I met a man in Cape Town who lost everything, his business, his home, his health. Within 6 months, he told me he thought God had forgotten him. But then one night, when he had nothing left to lose, he sat under the stars and said, God, if I'm still breathing, you must not be done. He started again, not from success, but from surrender. Today, he coaches young entrepreneurs across Africa, not because the storm disappeared, but because he let it carry him higher. So what are you running from? The criticism, the failure, the silence? What if the thing you're avoiding is the very pressure designed to give you wings? Stop asking for the storm to stop. Start asking for the strength to ride it. Because some altitudes you'll never reach until the sky breaks open. You are not fragile. You are forged. Let the wind come and rise. When a lion walks through the savannah, it does not check who's watching. It does not seek applause. It does not ask for validation. It walks with certainty. Not because it is the biggest or the fastest, but because it knows what it carries. That is what gives it dominance, not its size, but its conviction. Too many people today are living for impressions instead of impact. They dress like kings but think like captives. They move with noise but lack direction. Why? Because their identity was never anchored. They've built their lives on opinions, on titles, on trends. And when the crowd stops clapping, they start shrinking. But hear me, when you don't know who you are, you will always be at the mercy of who they say you are. You will become a prisoner of performance, constantly adjusting yourself to match the mood of others. And every time you adjust, you abandon something sacred, your authentic self, your God-given image, your divine authority. The lion doesn't roar to prove itself, it roars because it remembers who it is. And you were never created to live in confusion. You were never born to be lost in a sea of roles and masks. You are formed in the image of the Creator, not to imitate others, but to reflect heaven. When Jesus stood before the crowd, he didn't need their approval. He said, "I am the light of the world." And he spoke it in the face of resistance, not because he was arrogant, but because he was rooted. He didn't perform for identity. He moved from identity. That's the secret. Identity is not something you search for. It's something you must remember. One young woman I met in Sao Paulo had been told all her life that she was too much, too loud, too bold, too different. So she tried to shrink, to fit in, to quiet her fire. But deep down she was dying, until one day she read Genesis again and realized that she was not made to fit, she was made to fill the earth, to fill spaces with light and life and truth. That day, she stopped apologizing for who she was, and within a year she had started a mentorship program for teen girls who'd been silenced like her. You see, the moment she remembered, she began to reign. Let me speak to you plainly. You will never walk like a lion until you stop living like a chameleon. The world does not need your imitation, it needs your authenticity. And until you embrace who God designed you to be, you will always feel like something's missing. Because what's missing is you. You're not here to blend, you're here to become. So stop bowing to borrowed identities. Stand, roar, walk like you remember. The eagle does not descend to prove a point. The lion does not chase every barking dog. They understand something that many leaders, believers, and gifted people forget. Not every fight is worthy of your energy. Not every voice deserves a response. Not every stage is meant for you to step on. True dominion is not just about power, it's about restraint. We live in a world addicted to reaction. Somebody posts something you don't like, respond. Someone disrespects you, clap back. They didn't include you. Prove them wrong. But listen carefully. If the enemy cannot destroy you, he will distract you. He'll throw petty arguments in your path. He'll send people with loud mouths but small minds. He'll stir up offense just to pull you out of position. And if you're not careful, you will waste your wings chasing shadow. The eagle does not flap its wings frantically like smaller birds. It locks them. It rides the wind. It conserves energy for what matters. And that's the wisdom many of us need right now. You don't have to fight every battle to win the war. Sometimes the enemy wants your attention more than your defeat. Because the moment you engage, you've already lost. Not in victory, but in focus. I once spoke with a young man from Nairobi. Brilliant mind, powerful voice, a visionary. But he was constantly tired. Not because he lacked discipline, but because he lacked discernment. He was saying yes to every invitation, responding to every critic, trying to correct every lie spoken about him. He thought he was being responsible, but really, He was being distracted. And I told him, you are too needed to be this accessible. You are too valuable to be this busy. A year later, he narrowed his focus, pulled back from the noise, and started building something that now feeds over 2,000 families every month. Here's the principle. Don't just ask, and I do it, asked, should I? Just because it's available doesn't mean it's aligned. Just because you can speak doesn't mean you should. Just because they provoked you doesn't mean you need to react. Jesus didn't answer every question. He didn't attend every meeting. He didn't explain himself to every critic. Why? Because when you know your assignment, silence becomes strategic. Don't let applause tempt you out of your lane. Don't let criticism pull you into pettiness. Your crown is too heavy for you to stoop every time someone calls your name. It is not cowardice to walk away from chaos. It is wisdom. It is not weakness to stay silent. It is mastery. You don't have to prove who you are when heaven has already spoken. So guard your energy, guard your assignment, guard your peace. It's because kings don't answer every voice in the crowd, and eagles never chase flies. You were never designed to live grounded, circling the same struggles, bound by fear, distracted by noise, or lost in confusion. You were created to rise like the eagle and rule like the lion. Not just in speech, but in stature. Not just in belief, but in bold, courageous action. The lion does not apologize for its roar. The eagle does not shrink to fit into flocks of sparrows, and neither should you. Now is the time to stop playing small, to stop delaying, doubting, and deferring your destiny. You've heard the message. You've felt the call. The question is not, are you ready? The question is, will you move? Will you rise above the opinions, face the storms, confront the fear? Remember who you are, protect your energy, and walk in your true identity. Don't just admire the lion. Don't just watch the eagle. Become the message. Live the standard. Embody the dominion. The world is waiting for the sound of your roar. Heaven is waiting for the lift of your wings. And history is waiting to record the life you were born to lead. Good luck on your journey to becoming what you were always meant to be. Thank you, God bless you, and never forget, royalty does not retreat.